The BBC in beds, hearts and bucks. This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
And this is Friday afternoon. Nick Coffer here in the beautiful Saxon village of Eversholt in Bedfordshire, the Green Man pub, snug next to the fire. Live music, our travel expert, and some great local characters on their way, plus loads of the music you love. This is Lionel Richie on BBC Three Counties Radio. BBC Three Counties Radio. It's 16 minutes past 12 o'clock on Friday afternoon. That was Paradise and Coldplay. We kicked you off with Dancing on the Ceiling and then Whitney Houston, Where Do Broken Hearts Go? So, it's my normal show, except it's not normal because I'm out and about. I'm in the beautiful village of Eversholt in Bedfordshire, the Saxon village, very historic village. We'll be talking about the history of the village throughout the show today. Plus, Andy Yarosh is coming. He's just been away for 7 weeks. He's been travelling. He's our travel writer. We're going to talk about where he's been and where we should be heading. He's here with his recommendations after 1 o'clock. We've got the local band playing live. We're looking at the cricket team. It doesn't seem like the season to be playing cricket to me at all. The work of the local church. Lots of very lovely local characters coming into the pub here in Eversholt. And of course, lots and lots of the music you love. Louise Freeman is with me. Landlady. Boss.
Welcome.
Thank you very much indeed. Do I need a pint, I think? It's sort of 16 minutes past 12 o'clock here.
It's past midday.
Here we come. I'm being served a lovely pint of beer. Tell me a little bit about your pub. When did you take it over?
We took it over in 2006. We refurbished it all in 2008. And we have just opened up again after 4 days of repainting, revarnishing just for you, Nick.
That is so kind of you. And it smells so fresh and beautifully painted. What led you to want to take a pub on?
Well, both husband and I did all our training down in London at 5-star hotels, and then we decided that we wanted to go alone, and my parents are over in Little Horwood, Winslow, that way, and so we took on look for pubs around here, and there's no better place than Eversholt.
The whole point of coming out to pubs like this, and we're going to be doing this over the next couple of months, I think, especially in the winter, you know, come and get a nice pint of beer and some hot pod as well. But pubs are at the centre of their communities, especially in a small village like this. Are you very much the hub? That's
definitely what we try to be. We do everything from the locals with the pub through to the restaurant. Then we often have sort of a beer festival where all the villagers come in and listen to the local bands play as well. And through to bonfire night, Christmas Eve, Father Christmas comes in to see the good children. So, yeah, we do have a really good support from the villagers, and that's important.
Is it tough? Because we hear of so many pubs closing every week, every month, every year. Then tens and tens of pubs find themselves in difficulty. How do you survive?
Listening to the locals and just trying to give what people want. But, yeah, it is tough, yes.
I imagine you must see all sorts of wonderful stories happening here. You must get all the gossip, which you're going to share with me now.
No, what goes on in the pub stays in the pub.
It sounds like a very, very good mantra to me. If you're anywhere near Eversholt, basically we're sort of just a couple of miles west of Woburn, Flitwick Way as well. Come and say hello. We'll be here until 3 o'clock today with the locals, drinking their beer, no doubt, Louise, and enjoying their very, very warm hospitality too. I have to say though, it is very cold today. I just poked my head around the door. It feels like it's getting nippy. Let's speak to the BBC Weather Centre to find out the forecast for the next few days. It's 12:35 on Friday afternoon. You're listening to BBC Three Counties Radio. Nick Coffer with you until 3 o'clock today in the village of Eversholt. The rather cold village of Eversholt, I have to say today, but that's going to be the case across the three counties today. After 1 o'clock, Andy Yarosh will be joining us. He's our super travel blogger from St Albans. He writes a blog called 501places.com, and he has just been to several places. He's been away for 7 whole weeks. He'll be telling us all about his trip and perhaps talking about some of the places we should be looking to go to as we hopefully head towards spring. Let's talk about Eversholt itself and about the music of Eversholt as well. I'm joined by Robert Barclay and Kevin Turnbull. They are one half of the other band. That is your name, and you're one of the pub bands. You're both based in Eversholt. And Robert, Eversholt's quite a musical village, isn't it?
It has, actually. The other band represents as 4 people, 3 of whom actually live in the same street in Eversholt. And we're called the other band because we're not the Codebreakers, which is another other band that we have in the village, who are well known for their technical musical prowess. There's a number of classical musicians in the village. I think there's a conductor in the village. and there are also professional musicians in the village as well. So altogether on New Year's Eve, it can be quite a big noise here.
I love the fact that now that we've started talking to you, the pub's gone quiet. It was.
No, that's right. Well, they know we're about to play, so they're all looking for the exits.
This is not true. You are a proud Eversholtian. You've been here since birth. Tell me a little bit about the village itself.
The village has a very long history. It's a Saxon village. Like many villages in this area, it's got a number of N's, which tends to be a marker that it's been around a long time. It's mentioned in the Doomsday. And there's a great deal of kind of connection with the Duke of Bedford, whose estate is bang next door on one side. In fact, he used to run over the village and beyond. And in fact, when I wasn't actually born in the village, but when I came here, as I recall, when I was 6 months old, most of the village was really involved in agriculture and the estate at the time. Clearly, that's changed over the years, and it's become perhaps a little more middle class than that, perhaps, I suppose. But the agricultural connection is still there, though.
It's a very, very pretty village, I have to say. Now, I live in a fairly urban area. I live in Bushy Heath. I don't know what it would be like to live in such an intimate space as this. What's it like being part of a rural Bedfordshire village?
Well, I did spend 15 years in London. I would say that was a lot more intimate than this. It was very strange because I actually came back to the house I grew up in as well. So I had that perspective of living in an urban area and then coming back. And it took a few years to get used to it. But what was quite nice was, as opposed to when I was living in London, I got to know my neighbours, although some of whom I knew already. Got to be friendly with my neighbours, which certainly never happened in London. And of course, you've got a focal point like here, the Green Man, which really brings people together. And the school, which is just across the road, the church, which is just across the road. And so the village really does have a heart in a way we never had in London or in any urban area, I think.
What strikes me in all of these villages that in effect go up the M1 is they're so close to the major trunk roads, and yet they're very, very tranquil.
I actually think they're one of the nation's best kept secrets. We're kind of betwixt and between. If anyone wants to know geographically where we are, we say, well, in the triangle between Luton, Bedford and Milton Keynes, and that for many people marks us out as a bit of an unknown area. But the reality is that I think probably in part because of that, this is a very special area, and we're all we feel very lucky to be living here and to have such a great pub, eh, Louise?
Kevin, how did the band come into being?
Well, there was a bunch of us got together probably 8 years ago, and we were a bunch of renegade dads. So we had a band called the Bad Dads. That ran its course and split into 2-3 others, and the other band came from that. Two of us came from the Bad Dads. We kind of made a call down the road. Is there anyone who can sing, anyone who can play the guitar? And lo and behold, we got Robert and Alan, another guy who lives just down the road, and we formed a new 4-piece, basically, guitar band.
What qualifies you or anyone as a renegade dad?
Well, I think it's we clearly take our child raising responsibilities very seriously, but we're here to have fun as well. So I think, like a lot of middle-aged, ex-rock and roll people, we just we're not going to let that die. That's what we're living for. You've
had a bit of a life change recently yourself. You've just sold your business. What's it like being on the other side now?
Do you know, I miss having a big project to do. That's not to say I'm not involved with a lot of other things, but I ran a spa marketing company called Spa Finder Europe, so I travelled a lot. I went to a lot of spas, which is tough, but I'm actually 92. I've just had a lot of facials.
Yes, you look amazing, I have to say.
Well, that's the spa treatments for you. But no, we sold it back to the brand owner in the US about 4 months ago. And I've been focusing on the music, of course, as you would expect me to do.
As someone who has been or who is an entrepreneur, is it going to be long before you're doing your next project? Will you get bored?
I actually have got a high capacity to get bored, and I'm already working in a number of areas. I think if you build up a reputation to kind of do things and get things done, then people come to you. So I've been turning stuff down rather than looking desperately for some new thing.
Well, we're going to hear one of the things you do, which is sing in this band, which I'm reliably informed is available for weddings and bar mitzvahs and
anything, any celebration or indeed memorial will be there.
You're listening to BBC Three Counties Radio. We are in the village of Eversholt in Bedfordshire, and this is the Steve Miller Band. The Steve Miller Band, that's the Joker. You're listening to BBC Three Counties Radio. It's Friday afternoon on what promises to be a fairly cold Friday afternoon. Last Friday was snow day. Snow is coming in overnight tonight across the three counties. Wherever you're going, make sure you go very, very safely. I'm in a pub with the other band, with Kevin and Robert. What are you going to play for us, Robert?
We thought we'd take the chance to play This Is the Life by Amy MacDonald.
Off you go, and you've got a full audience here. After you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You've done this before.
Yeah, that's the only song we ever do, though. So, yeah, a few times.
You've got great harmonies. I could imagine you in a pub on a Friday evening, a couple of beers.
Thursday night at the Green Man, around 10 o'clock, when both bands finish their rehearsal, they come piling in here and all hell breaks loose. So,
where can we find you if anybody would like to hire you for one of their events? Are you on Twitter, Facebook?
Twitter, The Other Band. It's very easy to remember, so you'll find us there at The Other Band on Twitter.
Robert, Kevin, thank you both very much for kicking us off with some great live music. You're listening to BBC Three Counties Radio. It's 12:48. I'm going to be talking to a horse dentist.
Nick Coffer.
On the BBC in Beds, Hearts and Bucks.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now I'm a little bit nervous about the next person I'm about to speak to. Richard Halls, your business card says you are an equine dental technician.
Yes, that is correct. You can't actually call yourself a horse dentist. That's only for human dentists. But I'm fully qualified. I'm actually the highest qualified person in the country for doing horse dentistry.
Why can you not call yourself a dentist?
Well, because there's a register of human dentists. You can't even actually call yourself an equine dentist without the actual being a dentist. So if you call yourself an equine dentist, you've got to be a vet and a human dentist as well.
So were you a human dentist first, and then you specialised with the GGs?
No, what I've done horses all my life. I say I'm only local, and I actually qualified in 2001. But the reason I qualified in 2001 because that was the first qualification when it actually came out. What it was, the British Equine Veterinary Association, the British Veterinary Dental Association introduced exams, and I sat that very first exam.
Now, in all seriousness, equine dental health is very important, particularly when we're talking about thoroughbreds that can be worth millions of pounds. Have you worked with some famous horses and rich owners?
Yes, indeed. Well, I was saying just before Christmas, I was actually doing a horse. Its name was Hampton Court Walsall, and I don't know if you know the connection, but this actually belonged to the Queen. I mean, some of the famous people I've done, I say in the summer I actually went to this lady, Donna Monaghan, and she'd got 2 Caspian stallions, which are rare breed and expensive. Afterwards she invited me into her house, and I saw all this Formula 1 stuff, and I said, oh, who's that? And she said, oh, that's my husband Paul Monaghan there. So I saw all these trophies there. So, I mean, locally I go to Woburn Safari Park, and actually I do Whipsonade Zoo as well.
Is it extra nerve-wracking when you're doing the teeth for Her Majesty the Queen's horses?
No, the horse doesn't make any difference who owns it at all there, yeah. I brought a couple of things in to show you.
Yes, please, what have we got here?
Is filing the horse's teeth down. Now, what I'll show you for the listeners, what it is a solid tungsten carbide blade. I don't know if you just want to feel that, but that's absolutely razor sharp. That's actually cut with diamonds.
I have to say, if I tried to file my nails with that, as of course I would do during a radio show, that would take the top of my nails off. It is very sharp.
But my main job is actually filing the horse's teeth down. I've just brought a rasp to show you.
Okay, Richard is delving into his... my word, that looks scary.
But remember, the horse's head is actually quite big, and I'm filing the teeth right at the back.
I'm just struggling to describe this a little bit. Basically, it looks like... Okay, one end looks like a hacksaw, and the other end looks like a horse stirrup. Is that a fair description?
Yeah. I mean, this one, what you would actually call, looking at it, actually looks like a hockey stick.
Or a putter. Look at the way you're holding it there. Looks like a...
Yes. But what the difference is, that what the actual end you would hit an implement with is actually the handle, and the business end is at the other end, and that's a really sharp tungsten carbide grip. Now, what I would like to show you...
I get nervous when Richard delves into his bag, which is just down the side of his seat here. We're sitting next to a very warm fire in the pub, I have to say. This is a very civilised way. My word, he's pulled out a horse skull. Okay, that was unexpected. Things you don't expect to see on a... Richard?
Yeah, this is much safer than actually dealing with a real live horse there, because we're not going to get hurt.
It's smiling.
Yes, indeed, yes. I don't know if you just want to run your finger over that.
I'm not sure I want to.
Just feel how sharp these teeth are. What I mainly do is file these horses' teeth down because they're so sharp. Now, what actually happens is 70% of horses have lacerations in their cheeks, and this is because their diet is too soft. If you think where the horses are native in this country, it's all places like New Forest, Exmoor, Dartmoor, Shetland Isles, where the grazing is poor. And now the horses are grazed on lowlands, and the grass is too soft, so their teeth grow sharp. So what I'm doing is filing that down.
Do they stand willingly while you do it, or do they fight back?
Well, 9 out of 10 are quite happy, but that leaves 1 in 10 where they have to be sedated, have some happy juice to make them stand, things there.
Well, I've seen it all now, Richard, with, I have to say, a fantastic-looking skull of a horse. You've even got notes all over it showing which part of the teeth relates to which part of the jaw. I never quite realised that a horse's head was so big. Richard Halls, it's been a pleasure to meet you. The people you bump into in a pub, if you want to find out more about what Richard does, his website is www.horsedentistry.co.uk. I'm not going to allow you to file my teeth, though.
Okay, that's no problem. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You're listening to BBC Three Counties Radio. We are live in the beautiful Saxon village of Eversholt, and we'll ease you gently up to the travel with Nora Jones.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
We're very much in beds today in the village of Eversholt, the beautiful village of Eversholt, a village that we've discovered already is a very musical village. We're going to be talking more about the history of Eversholt as well. Joining me now are Dean and Alan from the Eversholt Cricket Club. Alan is the head of cricket and Dean is the second 11 captain. We're slightly off season, aren't we, Alan?
We're a long way off season at the moment, but at least once Christmas is past, we know that it's downhill now to the start of the season, and planning for next season is already ongoing with indoor nets, and we also play indoor cricket league as well, so we've got cricket going on all year round, although indoors rather than out.
I feel like, to use a sporting term, I feel like we've got the hat trick now of quintessential English village things. We're at the pub, we're going to be looking at the church, and we round it off with the hat trick with the village cricket team. It doesn't get more English than that, does it?
No, I think the scene at Eversholt is probably one of the prettiest cricket grounds in the country. It is in the shadow of the church. We have the we have the village hall at the one end and the swimming pool and the small ancient cricket pavilion at the other. It is very much a quintessential English scene.
Dean, how good is village cricket, and in particular the Eversholt Cricket Club?
I think, well, certainly very locally, Eversholt, one of the top sides in the area, always in opposition with Amtel and Flitwick, who tend to have a greater area that they can attract players from, being rather now small towns, whereas we are still primarily a village cricket team.
Alan, how serious does the rivalry get with your neighbours in Amtel and Flitwick?
Oh, very serious. We like to play hard but fair against them, but yeah, there's certainly we certainly like to beat them and they like to beat us. We're not always, unfortunately, in the same leagues as them, but when we do play them, it's we even play them in friendly games, but I think friendly is in inverted commas because there's certainly a lot of local rivalry and bragging rights to be had if we can beat them.
Quintessentially English and charming, with an edge by all accounts. Now, you've pulled out of a bag a scrapbook here. I was wondering what it was because it's got Mr. Men on the front, Mr. Men scrapbook, but it's more serious than that. Tell me what's in it.
Yeah, this is going back the history of the club within the village, and it's quite interesting being in the pub today. Going back about 30 years now, there was a big storm in the village over the cricket club wanting to put a bar in the pavilion, which upset the residents of the village and the current landlord of the pub, because obviously what we used to do is come to the pub after the game. So there was a lot of problems caused. There was situations where they were talking of banning the cricket club from playing on the ground.
Village was in uproar.
It very much was. It made the national press, as you can see from the cuttings we've got here. And there were issues. The club actually stopped coming to the pub anyway, even though we didn't have a bar. And
there's a great first line here. The rage shown at the Rebel Cricket Tour, that dates this article, the Rebel Cricket Tour of South Africa has got nothing on the fury which is tearing a Bedfordshire village apart. How did it end in the end, Dean?
Well, in the end, there was a compromise reached. I mean, it actually got to a stage where a local parish council election was fought on that basis, and the guy who was riding on the side of the cricket club actually didn't get in first time round. But it really brought everything to a head, and a compromise was eventually reached.
Tell me, Alan, how do you survive year on year? It can't be cheap maintaining a cricket pitch and a cricket club.
No, it certainly isn't. I mean, the costs of the club keep rising every year. We're very lucky in that we've got a very loyal and hard-working band of volunteers who do a lot of the work within the club. We also have to raise money from outside sources. Biannually now we have a match against Lashing's World 11, so you get a lot of ex-international cricketers come down to the village of Eversholt. We get a big crowd down, we have a marquee, lunches, etc. And luckily so far we've always had very good weather for it, and that raises our profile and also helps to raise funds for the club.
How good a cricketer would I have to be to join your team? I have played a bit of cricket. I can bowl a little off break. Maybe we can come back in the summer and try this out. But how good would I have to be? And if anyone wants to join in, do they have to be from Eversholt?
No, not at all. Everybody's welcome. We've got a growing band of youngsters and a growing band of coaches that are running teams from 10, 12, under 14 and historically under 16s. And in fact, your very own Katie Boyle's husband started his career at Eversholt. So
Catherine Boyle, and isn't he now at Ampthill Cricket Club? Didn't he defect?
he did defect. I think it was largely because he couldn't get a game. But
are you suggesting he defected to an inferior quality side?
He would debate that, and no doubt when we go to Norwich on Saturday with him and his family, that'll be a matter for debate as well.
So you're off to the FA Cup fourth round. I just said that I thought Luton had a chance. Am I mad?
I think you probably are, actually. However, you know, we all live in hope.
Thing is, it's a one-off game. You've got Norwich who are going through a terrible patch at the moment. They I think haven't won a game in nine matches. They're shedding goals by the sack load, and also they're going to be focusing on the Premiership. I think Luton have got nothing to lose. Are you going as well, Alan?
I'm not going, no, but I'm certainly a fan. I think a lot of the locals around here are dyed-in-the-wool Luton Town fans, so we'll certainly be supporting the team next on Saturday and hoping that they can pull off what would be an even more major shock than the victory over Wolves.
When you go to a match like this tomorrow, does it make you want to be in the Premier League or in the Championship?
No, I've got to be honest, no. I love going to Luton. I love the ground as it is. And one thing that would really get to me about the Premiership is the fact that you never know when you're actually going to see a game. It could be a Friday, Saturday lunchtime, Saturday afternoon, Sunday, Monday game. I love going to Luton, I love where it is, and I just love everything about the club.
I think that is a brilliant point, because I'm an Arsenal fan. I never know when we're playing next, and it can be very hard to keep track of. Dean and Alan from the Eversholt Cricket Club, lovely to meet you both in the pub here. Where can we find out more info? Have you got a website?
Yes, we do. If you go to the Eversholt Cricket Club website, if you're interested in playing or wanting more information, you can register online there. That then comes through to us, and we will make contact with you. Or if you just register on the website, then regular email. We've got Twitter account and Facebook account as well. So certainly make contact with us through that.
What's your Twitter account?
Hang on, Dean. I think
it's Eversholt CC.
And because this is radio, we have taken a recording of what you said about Catherine Boyle's husband, and we will be emailing it to him this afternoon, just to create a little bit of friction on your trip tomorrow to Norwich. Have a great weekend at the football. I hope Luton win.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Eversholt Cricket Club, right in the heart of Eversholt Village. You're listening to BBC Three Counties Radio, and this is Take That. 2:35 on Friday afternoon. I'm in a very nicely busy pub in the middle of Eversholt. Very nice to do a programme from a pub, I have to say. Very, very civilised, beautiful village of Eversholt, and it's about time that we found out a little bit more about its history. But I'm going to ask my guests to come back here. They're already leaving the pub and we haven't even started. It is a very picturesque village, and perhaps the most striking building here is the church. I've got Caroline, Jim and Rita here, all of whom know a thing or two about the local history, especially of the St John the Baptist Church. Jim, let's start with you. What's the story behind the church? How long's it been here?
Oh, about 10th century. And it's just wandered along and got repaired and got extended over the years. I'm not that on to dates for it, but the other thing I can help you with there is that a great-great-grandfather of mine sold some ground to the church to extend the churchyard in about 1850, and his mother opened the post office in Church End in Eversholt, up a little alleyway. I don't know if what else.
Isn't there a story in relation to your father or your grandfather and a memorial? Have I got that right?
Yes, you have. An uncle of mine didn't die in the war. He died after, when he got home. And Evelyn Green, who created the memorial, he wanted to get his name onto the roll of honour, and he was too late and he missed it. And it's a sadness, but it's just a little aside. You know, there's the roll of honour, and my uncle missed it because he did die in action, as it were.
And there's no way back. There's no way they'll remedy that.
No, they can't do that. It seems that's his life.
Well, I tell you what, I've wrapped up. I've got my scarf on. I've got my big coat on. Shall we head outside here? We're going to cut across to the other side of the pub here. past the bar, past the all-important coffee machine, and through the big green door into what is, a very brisk Bedfordshire afternoon. I have to say, it feels pretty well 0 or 1 degree here outside. We're standing in front of this church. Now, for me, if I was asked to think of a picture in my head of a classically beautiful, cute English village church and Church Green, this would be it. It is very beautiful. Caroline, must be a pleasure to have this in the middle of your village.
It's very nice because I live right next door to it, so I've got it there all the time with me, which is lovely.
In your very, very pretty, what looks like an Edwardian house to me. How long have you lived in the village?
That's the bakery, the old bakery. It's actually a Georgian old bakery. I've lived in the village just 20 years. 22 years, sorry. I'm a newcomer.
Relatively so. Is it a point of sadness for you that villages like this have lost their post offices and their bakeries?
Greatly, because I think the post office had just packed up before I came. So there are no shops, so it's just the pub, the church, and the very good facilities on the cricket ground.
Rita, on a day-to-day basis, how do you manage them? Because if you haven't got those local amenities close to hand, it can't be easy.
Well, unfortunately, I used to live in Eversholt and now live in Woburn because we moved. But my strong feelings are always for Eversholt, and I'm one of the church wardens in the church. So the actual lack of facilities doesn't affect me personally, although I understand the difficulties.
As a church warden, tell me a little bit about the work you do in the church. This may sound like the most obvious question you're going to be asked, but how important is the role of the church in, quite literally, the heart of the community here?
Well, obviously, as church wardens, both Caroline and I feel that it's one of the most important things. It's a small congregation. We'd like it to be bigger, but that's the way things are these days. But as church wardens, it's our job to look after the church and to make sure that it's maintained properly, and the churchyard, and we are responsible for keeping it that way.
Tell me a little bit, please, about the memorial statue I can see just in front of me on the ridge in the snow.
That was created by Evelyn Green, who has did do a lot of work in the church. He started in 1904, and over a period of, I think, about 30 years.
I would say
about 30 years. He constructed all sorts of things within the church and made it very, very beautiful. And it's very unique. There isn't anything else like it anywhere.
And it is very beautiful. With a church like this that's in the heart of the village, that's in the heart of the community, do you think that its role is as much to be a place for people to come together, whether they are of faith or not? Or does faith remain absolutely at the core of what you do, Caroline?
I think really faith is at the core of what we do. The church is very much part of this village. Everybody wants to get married here, buried here, christened here. They would hate it not to be there. So yes, it is well used, even if we are a small congregation. Just looking out here to my left is the church. To my right, you can see the cricket club and a van about to drive past very quickly. So we'll just step back from the main road and just a little bit further into the distance, you can see the Lido, the big swimming pool, one of 3 Lidos built by the Duke of Bedford, perhaps 4 or 5 dukes back, but he built 3 Lidos here locally. I'll just step back from this van, who is waving as he goes past. Joining me as well is Pat Richardson. He can tell me all about the village hall. Smoking on a pipe there, Pat. Looking very relaxed.
Yes, I'm always relaxed with my pipe. I like my pipe, pint of my pipe. So, village hall, yes. The old hall was what they used to call the reading room, which was on the other side of the village, Till's End. And in 1984, they had a fire. The old hall was destroyed, and a group of people in the village decided to get together and build a new hall. So we had a meeting, and the village said, yes, we'd like to build a new hall. They chose the recreation ground area as the site for the new hall, and we built the hall. We sold the old site to developers. We raised £110,000. We invested the money. The net result was that with that money, we actually built the new hall. That hall that is there now didn't cost the community a penny. We raised all the money ourselves. It was very much a community effort. And although the committee is only supposed to be about 10 people, we had lots of helpers, and we used second-hand materials, and they shipped them in from all over the place, and we had somebody organising that. And the net result was we built that magnificent new hall.
And you're very proud of the fact that it cost no money to the community.
Oh, I'm so proud of what we did there. I mean, it's a magnificent hall. It really is. I mean, it's such a fantastic setting. If you see that in the summer, there's cricket going on. You've got the cricket pavilion, you've got the swimming pool, and the recreation ground. And in 2000, the Village Hall Committee bought the site opposite, which we call the pond site, which is an open area for people to come and just wander around and relax. And yeah, I mean, it's just a magnificent setting. In the summer, it's absolutely fantastic.
I have to say the overwhelming sense I've had here in Eversholt is how close the village and the villagers are together. It's very much a community that works together as a community. It's very, very impressive, and it's very warm, very welcoming. My only concern, talking about warmth, is how I'm going to unpeel my hand from this microphone, because I think it might just have actually frozen to it. Pat, let's head back inside. Lovely to meet you. Congratulations on your work with the Village Hall.
No, I was very welcome.
You're listening to BBC Three Counties Radio. Rob's Upward Drive at 3 o'clock this afternoon. He'll be in the warmth of his studio. Lucky Rob, seeing you home with all the travel news, local stories and music as well. It is just coming up to 20 to 3, and this is Cliff Richard.
Nick Coffer
On the BBC in Beds, Hearts and Bucks.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, it's taken me exactly 2 hours and 49 minutes, but I am now making my way into the kitchen. I think I've done pretty well to actually do almost 3 hours of a show without coming to the kitchen. As you know, food is one of my first loves, and I'm heading through quite a narrow corridor here. Not easy to work in these small old English pubs. Into the kitchen, and this is where I feel happy. Hello, James Freeman.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you very much for having us today.
It's been a pleasure. It's been good to have you here.
Now, I'm quite shocked at how tidy it is in this kitchen. It doesn't look anything like my kitchen at home, and it's very small.
It is small, but I do try and keep it as clean as possible. It's the only way to work.
Gastropub Grub. This is a quintessential pub in a quintessential village with a quintessential church and a quintessential cricket team. What do you cook here?
Sorry, say that
What do you cook here?
What do I cook? I cook quintessential English food, to be honest with you. Everything traditionally cooked, locally sourced, where possible. And, like, for example, now I'm doing curried lamb shank, Rogan Josh, very simple, but again, a traditional dish. And
you know what my next question is, don't you?
Yes, probably how do you go about cooking it?
So here we go. So lamb shanks, I'm just putting on my food hat here, because lamb shanks, my local butcher, if I catch him on the right day, he will happily sell me 3 or 4 lamb shanks for a tenner, and they go a long way. I can feed my family of 4 with 1 or sort of 1.5 lamb shanks. So how are you doing yours?
I'm basically now I marinate them first in a curry paste, basically. Add my red wine and garlic and what have you. And then we braise them. I braise them for about 3 to 4 hours on a very low heat, about 150. After that, I then make the masala mix, the sauce itself, to go with the lamb shank, and serve it with pickles, wild rice, which I infuse with a little bit of turmeric, and poppadoms, and there we go, and off you go.
Sounds lovely. Now, I've learnt today, having spent some time with your wife, Louise, that there's no doubt who's the boss here. Louise is definitely
don't deny that.
Louise is definitely in charge, but I'm just putting myself in your shoes and imagining myself working with my wife. It wouldn't be easy. How do you manage it?
We're very lucky. I've known Louise for a long time, and we just seem to gel. We always have done, and I've worked with her now for 12 years. And as long as you give each other a little bit of space, which we do, she's very generous with time off for me, more so than she is for herself, to be fair. It works. It does. It clicks. Bear with me a second.
Oh, there's a beeper going off here, which means that you've got...
They're my lamb shanks.
Oh, your lamb shanks. Tell me about those moments where you've had stand-up rows in the middle of the pub with your wife, then.
We've had a few, but not that many. We have had a few. She invariably wins, and I just have to scuttle on back into the kitchen. So, yeah, but 9 times out of 10, she's the winner on that front.
Because, of course, that's the point, is that she's always going to win because she's out front, so she has to win. You basically have to go with your tail between your legs back to the kitchen. I would imagine, though, that running a business together as a husband and wife team is also quite exciting because you have mutual vested interest in the success of the business. Everything you do matters to Louise, and everything Louise does matters to you.
Very true. Very, very true indeed. And that's the thing that's important to us, is we do work as a family-run business here. We are a team, all of us. All of my staff, they're fantastic. I keep them, thankfully, for a long time. And I'm hoping that's because we gel together well, and that's the art behind any small family-run business. Is you need to gel together well.
Is it a glamorous life, or is it just really, really hard work?
I'm not going to kid you, it's hard work. No, it is hard work. It's 7 days a week, and even then, on your time out, you're still thinking about it. But it's a way of life. It is a way of life, and you either love it or you hate it. So, I love it.
The lovely romantic notion of having your own pub, your own gastro pub in the English countryside. I tell you what, having just been here for 3 hours, I can see how hard work it really is. I'm going to make my way back to the bar. I might even get myself a little half a pint to finish off my afternoon. You're listening to BBC Three Counties Radio. Now this is a return to form. This is the new single from the Mavericks. The Mavericks back in your arms again. Well, I have to say it's been an absolute pleasure to be in Eversholt today. Such a warm and lovely place, and a picturesque place as well. I'm now behind the bar. Well, what can I serve you?
I'll have a pint of bitter, please.
A pint of bitter. See, now that was bravado, because I actually have no idea where to start. I'm faced with a load of pumps and a load of taps, and Louise, I wouldn't even know where's your lager.
They're one of those three there.
I have to say thank you very much for having us today. It's been a real pleasure to be here. I will be back tomorrow at midday with the Weekend Kitchen, so 2 hours of the food that you can make at home easily yourselves. There's 10 great recipes on it tomorrow. And don't forget, a really, really important day of football tomorrow here on BBC Three Counties Radio. It is the 4th round of the FA Cup. Luton go to Norwich. The MK Dons go to Queen's Park Rangers. I think both of them have a chance, and you'll have full coverage from 2 o'clock tomorrow here on BBC Three Counties Radio. Jeff Doyle bringing you all of the action. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. It is going to snow later on. Please go safely across Beds, Herts and Bucks. This time next week we will be in Ampthill, continuing our world tour of Beds, Herts and Bucks, enjoying enjoying the sights and sounds of the Three Counties and the hospitality of the pubs as well. So from me, Nick Coffer, here in Ampthill, it's goodbye. Cheers. Not in Ampthill. From me, Nick Coffer, here in Eversholt. Should we do that again? It's goodbye. And Louise.
Time, please.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC 3